on our call. So first and foremost, just want to introduce myself. My name again is Melody Masonette. I am a credit and money management coach here with the team. I've been in the industry for about 4 years now, and I'm super excited. My background is in business and youth education. Before this, I was working in the DOE and nonprofit in my community, and I saw how underserved we really were. And I didn't feel like I was impacting my community as much as I could be. So when I saw this opportunity, I jumped right on it, and I haven't looked back since, and I'm super excited to share with you guys. By now, I'm sure that you are all aware that we live in an exciting time of enormous change. In the midst of all the positive change that there has been, there are some concerns in this society that people aren't going to be financially prepared for their future. Fortunately, there is a company that is strategically positioned to help families plan for their financial future. And today, World Financial Group and Transamerica Financial Advisors is recognized for being the top 1% of all broker dealers in the country. And I say that not to impress you, but rather to press upon you how fast our company is growing and the tremendous business options that exist in our firm. You're here tonight to understand who we are, what we do, and why this should be important to you. I believe that you're going to hear some very important and relatable stories and some very impressive business story in America. A story of a company built by real people to help and serve the needs of real people. So to share with you that extraordinary story is a beautiful individual who is highly qualified to share this information. She is a good friend of mine. I've known her since I started working with this firm. And at this point, we might as well be sisters. She is phenomenal. She started in this organization and she pretty much hit the ground running. She is the founder of not one, not two, but like 5 companies now, all to serve everyone that she can in every way possible. Her background was in retail, but she switched it all up for her family. She comes from the Dominican Republic with her family, and she wanted to make sure that she left this place a better place, left this world a better place from where she came into it. So I have the pleasure to introduce to you all Chantel Sanchez.
Thank you so much. Let's give Melody a round of applause for doing such a fantastic job and being such an amazing host tonight. So as she mentioned, my name is Chantel Sanchez, and today I will be talking to you a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and the need for what we do. And of course, you guys are going to hear an amazing message about the business opportunity that lies within our firm as well. So a couple years ago, when I was about 18 years old, right, I was in college, I was studying criminal justice. There was an individual that was in my class, and I was like, I have to be her friend, right? Have you guys ever seen somebody and you're like, I really need to speak to that person, right? So that's something that happened to me. So that day, we became friends, but she ended up having a conversation with me that changed my whole life. And I know that it's a conversation that's going to change my family's life for the better, right? So she had actually invited me to a business overview one time, a financial overview. And I was like, girl, we are in college. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is not the language that I understand. But, you're young, you're curious. And I actually went. And I heard a beautiful message, right? In this office in Wall Street, there was a small Ecuatoriana woman doing the presentation. I was like, wow, this is so amazing. I love what this company does for others. I love the opportunity. I love the education that they're spreading. And I love the fact that they're able to help me too, right? And I've been able to help families from all across the United States with my partner, right? Mr. Aaron Progan, who is somebody that you're going to hear from today. I've been able to not only educate myself, educate, as many of my friends as possible, been able to educate my family as well and provide opportunities to my community. So this is why you are here today, because somebody that cares about you wanted you to learn a little bit more about financial education so that you can also make financially educated decisions in your life that's going to help benefit your future. So first and foremost, I want to begin with a little bit more about our background, right? And discuss our strength and credibility here at this firm. So let's begin with our parent company, Aegon, that has been around for almost 200 years, right? It is currently based out of the Netherlands, right, in Europe. So this is why a lot of people may or may not be too familiar with Aegon, but they are currently managing almost $500 billion in assets. And they are known to be one of the largest financial organizations in the world, which means that they're also ranked and recognized as one of the 9 companies that are way too big to fail financially. And they are so essential to our global financial system that, God forbid, the world goes cahoots, right? They're going to have huge government backing and support to make sure that they stay in business and to make sure that they protect all of these assets and these funds. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the news, but a lot of funds are being they're not protected, right? So it is essential that we have this amazing government backing to make sure that everybody's assets are protected. So let's talk about Transamerica as well, our sister company. It is a very popular company that has been in the industry for over 100 years. And it was purchased by Aegon over 20 years ago, currently ranked as one of the top major life insurance company in the United States, right? It is also known as the #1 financial company for female business owners over 7 years in a row. Now that is so important because why? Just a couple years ago, there weren't too many women that look like me. Right? Just 20 years ago, there weren't many women in general in the financial services industry. So we are changing the face, right, of the financial services industry. And we're here coming to rock everybody's world. Let me tell you guys something. If you ever get into one of our trainings, all you see is women. I don't know where the men are at, but all you see is women. So we are absolutely changing the game here. Now, although most people are familiar with their financial services that they provide, others do remember Transamerica due to its landmark building in San Francisco, right? You can see it in certain movies such as San Andreas, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Godzilla, which actually are a few of my favorite movies. So please go watch it. But a little bit more about us, right? World Financial Group. I want you guys to understand that we are simply a distribution platform. We are not a bank. We're not an investment firm, and we're absolutely not a life insurance company, okay? We are just a distribution platform, also known as the Amazon of financial services, okay? We are very similar to companies such as Uber and Amazon, Airbnb, companies that most of us utilize many, many times a year. I know Amazon loves my house because I always have packages coming here, but we allow people to become entrepreneurs on a part-time basis or even full-time basis, distributing different financial products and services. Now, how do we do that? Well, we train people who have decided to become business owners in the financial services industry using our platform, okay? And we're allowing these individuals to build their own distribution business where they can supply financial education in a variety of products and services. But I want you guys to understand this big thing here. We are in the largest industry in the world that has been known to produce the most millionaires. And we are backed by some of the best companies in the world that are helping you do just that. Now, if you don't believe me, if you have Siri, please go ask Siri right now and be like, hey, what industry is prone to birth majority of these millionaires out there, right? It is the financial services industry. But some other frequently asked questions that we have, well, hey, Chantel, what do we do as a company? How is it that you help families? How do you provide all this financial education? And what are some of the concepts and strategies that you're teaching? And why should this also be important to me? Well, let me help you understand that in most households, right, when families receive their paycheck, half of the funds are going towards living expenses, and the other half is also going to paying down taxes and debt as well. So when you begin to reflect on your finances, right, if you're reflecting, which is something that's important to do, it's really essential that you understand that majority of the time there really isn't any income left over, whether it be for saving, investing, funds, or even just having fun in general, right? And people are going to have fun regardless if they have money or not. But as a result, these families do tend to live paycheck to paycheck, which typically causes them to get into a deeper and deeper and deeper debt and also finance-induced stress. See, sometimes I joke around and say, hey, listen, you're not depressed, you're just broke. So we just have to get ourselves educated so we can make better financially educated decisions, okay? So we're not always stressed about money. So what do? Okay, we distribute financial education to our communities, left and right. We help educate on the importance of financial literacy, and we also amplify the conversation on building generational wealth, right? We also focus on getting people comfortable with the concept of entrepreneurship. Just take a look around. That is something that you see left and right on social media, okay? So jump on that bandwagon. It's good for you. Also, we are shining light on saving more on taxes, decreasing debt, becoming debt-free, right? Fixing your credit, understanding how money works, understanding how money can work for you because you work so hard for your money, right? Understanding how to properly grow, protect, and even save your wealth. All those things are very, very important. But we do that through teaching these financial concepts and strategies that have typically been reserved for the wealthy for so long, right? And a very big problem in our communities is that our community lacks basic financial education. Okay, but you have the wealthy population that has a financial professional, financial advisor, somebody who is educating them, who is showing them the way, who is showing them how to save on taxes, who is showing them how to decrease their debt or get good debt, right? That you can actually leverage and build a business and build that generational wealth, right? So tonight, you are here to learn a little bit more of who we are, what we do, a lot of great financial education. You're going to hear some great testimonies. And more importantly, you're going to hear from amazing people who are just making waves in the financial services industry. So you guys, thank you for giving me some time and your attention. And I'm going to give back the mic to Miss Melody Masonette.
Amazing. Thank you, Chantel, for that information. Very vital information. If you don't have a notebook, you might want to get one now because you're going to get a lot of nuggets. But I have the honor and the pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker, who is, at this point, again, a brother of mine. I tend to just adopt all my friends because they tend to be really amazing people. But this person is very, very close to my heart. I've known him for over 10 years now. He's been in the military. He's a senior chief in the Navy. We're so much as families that his mom is on the call and I call her Tia. I don't call her anything else but Tia. His niece is my goddaughter. It doesn't get any closer than that. He is amazing at everything that he does, and he's going to share a little bit more about his background in the Navy and also with our company. So my pleasure to introduce to you, Mr. Francisco Ferrer.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining us today, taking time out of your busy evening, preparing for the beginning of the week to sit in with us and get this valuable information. So like Mel said, I'm in the Navy. I've been in the Navy for the last 25 years and 6 months. I retired this September. But before that, I come from the South Bronx, from a traditional Puerto Rican household where I saw two parents work their entire life pretty much to provide for us, give us whatever we needed, not wanted, but needed, to make sure that we were educated and prepared for the future, right? To do better than what they had to provide for us. When I enlisted in the Navy in 97, I had a daughter ready. So I was a teen parent. She was 8 months when I went to boot camp. So when I joined, it was mostly something for me to provide for my child, like my dad and my mom provided for me. It turned out to be a career. It was kind of fun. And, it was pretty easy. So I kept pushing with it. And here I am, 26 years later, when I'm done with it all, getting ready to retire. Little background in my service time. I've done recruiting for 7 years, not complete total, but total time. And instruct duty for 3 years, been on 4 different carriers and 1 overseas tour. So I have a little diverse background. Finished my degree in organizational management from the University of, they changed their name, so I can't think about it right now. But it was something that I got my education in. And did it, and I had all these aspirations and goals. And about 2020, I was introduced to this business by one of my junior sailors. And she called me up like, you're doing a presentation now, and sat down and gave me information that I did not receive. My parents didn't have it to give to me. It wasn't taught in our school systems. It wasn't taught in the degree I received, and it wasn't taught in any of the financial educational backgrounds that I did in the Navy through, lessons taught to teach your sailors and so forth and so forth. And when I heard the information, I was so excited. I started talking to my sister about it, and my sister said, hey, get with Mel. And this is how I ended up here. Melody introduced me to this industry and this business. I find it to be very important to receive this information because we cannot change the future or the curses of not having information if we don't learn from something and learn from our experience, learn from our past, and get the information, be able to pass it forward. And once we know the information and learn the information, then we can do better. We can prepare, we can teach it to others. And knowledge is wonderful when you can share with everybody else and when you get to apply it. So that's what we're going to do tonight here is share with you some information that is valuable to you, whether you're still active duty, whether you're a veteran, you're transitioning, retired, whichever is in your future, this information is going to help you out with that. And with that being said, I am going to bring on a person that I met through the business. Turned out to be a trainer at one point. He is also a business partner of mine, became a friend of mine, a mentor. He has 8 years in this industry. Before that, he had 3 years in real estate, another Bronx native like myself, and a good person, very knowledgeable, very energetic. He's a senior marketing director in this business, Mr. Aaron Pagan.
All right. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, Frank, for the wonderful introduction as always. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? All right, awesome. Let me go ahead and replace the spotlight. There we go. Again, Frank, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I just want to shout out to you guys for putting me in a position to be a guest speaker, for your guests and your friends, your family tonight. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to share for about 10, 15 minutes or so. Like Frank said, my name is Aaron Pagan. I've been in the organization now for going on 8 years. Literally next month, I make 8 years in the financial services industry. And prior to that, I was doing real estate for about 4 years, loved real estate. Real estate was my first introduction to being self-employed. It was my first introduction to entrepreneurship as a whole. And so when I got that introduction, I really appreciated the freedom, the flexibility of my schedule, control of my time, and not necessarily having somebody breathing down my neck telling me what to do, when I can vacation, when I can do certain things. And so when I got a taste of that, David, I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I didn't want to work for somebody else for the rest of my life. That was a very, very pivotal, defining, and important lesson that I learned back in 2012, 2013. And I haven't looked back since. And so when I got into this organization in 2015, it was by chance. In fact, it wasn't by chance, because I want you to switch your mentality and your thinking process, because everything happens by design. So things don't happen by chance, including you being on this call tonight. Everything is by design. And so sometimes God sends a package to you that sometimes is not necessarily recognizable. Sometimes we think it looks weird. Sometimes it looks peculiar. But let me tell you, the biggest blessings in your life are the ones that come unrecognizable. And for me, that package was the opportunity to be a part of World Financial Group. That made me a better man, a better partner to my spouse, a better brother, a better son, a better teammate, a better leader all around, because of the associations, the opportunities to put myself in a position like this and speak in front of a bunch of you guys and thousands of people in my 8-year career, where before, if you put me in this position, I probably would have passed out. So from a personal development perspective, down to my discipline, my focus, leading people in the organization, and understanding that it's more about serving and understanding people instead of being understood. These are all the lessons that World Financial Group has taught me over the last 8 years. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else. When I got started in 2015, again, having that background in real estate, what really stood out to me was the financial education. That was the first thing that piqued my curiosity. And so when I started to learn some of the information that we share with families, I realized very quickly, like Frank said, this information is not taught in school. It definitely wasn't taught in my community. It wasn't taught by my parents to me. And so the thing that captured my attention when I first started were some basic rules to money. And we're going to talk about those rules today. And I remember sitting in Columbia University in 2015, and I had somebody that became a mentor of mine, my trainer when I first started. He went to my house and he educated my mother on how money works. And it was at that moment, Joshua, that I realized how important this information was and the lack of this education in our communities. So I want to share that with you today. And I want you to understand that there are rules to any game, the same way there are rules when it comes to money. And you have to understand how money works. See, most people go to work for money their entire life, yet they don't know how to let money work for them. And so I want to start off by talking to you guys about the first rule of money. If we could get into that, I appreciate you with the slides. I already have my slides up ready to go, but I appreciate you doing all that stuff in the background, whoever it is. It's Chantel. Beautiful. Of course it is. So let's talk about the 3 rules of money. I want to talk about compound interest and the rule of 72. You know, one of the most important discoveries in finance is the rule of 72. And again, I spent all this time in school. I never learned this information in school. I graduated with a business management degree from a local college here called Mercy College, and I never learned this information. And so when you look at compound interest and rule of 72, very simple. You take the number 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you're receiving on your investment, which will then determine how many years it takes for your money to double. So the best way to define rate of return are the profits that you're earning on your investments. So if you take the number 72 and you divide it by the interest rate that you're receiving, then you will learn how many years it takes for your money to double. Now, when I sat in that seminar at Columbia University 8 years ago, this was the concept that absolutely captivated my attention. And when I learned this, I realized, wow, most people today put majority of their money into a bank, earning less than 1%. So majority of people put majority of their money into a savings account in the bank, earning less than 1% on average. So let's just say the bank was generous enough to give you 1 whole percent, and we apply the rule of 72. Well, 72 divided by 1, anything divided by itself means it would take you 72 years for your money to double 1 time. And I don't know about you, Dave, but I don't want to wait 72 years for my money to double 1 time. And so just to give you some perspective, let's say, for example, you were earning 4%. Well, 72 divided by 4 is 18, which means that you would have 18-year doubling cycles. If you were earning 8%, you would have 9-year doubling cycles. So let's say, for example, I invested $10,000 into a program that was giving me 4% in interest. That means that 18 years later, that 10,000 would double to 20,000. And then another 18-year cycle, the 20,000 doubles to 40,000. But what if we doubled our interest from 4 to 8%? All things being equal, you invested the same amount of money for the same amount of time, 10,000 at 36 years. The only thing that changed was the interest rate doubled. So how is it that the interest rate doubled, everything remained the same, and after the same amount of time, 36 years, your money did not double, it actually quadrupled? That's because there's something known as compounding interest. And whenever interest stacks on top of more interest and it stacks on top of more interest, that's what's known as the compounding effect when it comes to money. There's a difference between simple interest and compound interest. We're talking about compound interest today. Now, what if you earn 12% on your money? Well, 72 divided by 12 is 6. Now your money's doubling every 6 years. Think about it like this. Think about your age. There's so many different age ranges on this call right now. What if your parents had set aside $10,000 into an account that was earning 12% on average? And by the time you were 24, you were 30, you were 36, you were in your 40s. You imagine the amount of money that you would have access to. I want to see a 1 in the chat that if you were 30 or 36 and you had access to hundreds of thousands of dollars, how much of a difference that would have made in your life had you had an account with that amount of money in it? Let me see in the chat, just the one. We're not going to talk about what you could have did with that money, just understanding how that could have changed your life. But it's not about what we didn't learn. It's not about what our parents didn't do for us. It's about what are you going to do with the information that you're learning today? See, this is knowledge, but knowledge is not truly power until it's applied, because information without implementation is devastation. We have to apply what we learn. And so today you're learning this information. Maybe it's adding on to what you already know, but now the next course of action is to be able to implement by getting together with the people that invited you on this call. However, you need to understand that although that compounding interest can work for you, it can also work against you. Because you go to that same bank, you're earning less than 1%, and then you take out a credit card, Frank, and then they charge you 18, 20, 25, 28% in interest. So let's think about this. The bank where you're positioning your money is giving you less than 1% in interest on your savings, and then they're charging you 25% on average on a credit card. So who's really winning in that scenario? Is it you or the bank? I want to see it in the chat. Who's winning? Is it you or the bank in that scenario? It's absolutely the bank. In fact, you have to think how banks make money. It's very simple. They take your money, let's say that 10,000 at 4%, they reinvest that money somewhere else, giving them 12%. They give you a measly 4%. And when it's all said and done, you're walking away with 40 grand and they profited $600,000 on your investment. So you got to understand, 4% accounts exist, 8% accounts exist, so do 12% accounts. But just because we haven't been educated on it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So why do we continue to put majority of our money into banks and not the places that banks are investing our money? Well, if you want to learn more about that, I know a bunch of people on this call right now that are willing to sit down with you and also share with you more information on how you can do that for yourself and your family. So I want to move to rule 2, which is taxes. Let's talk about taxes. The question is, where do you put your money? Benjamin Franklin said that nothing is certain in this world except for 2 things, death and taxes. And I want you to imagine that you have 3 buckets, and one bucket is labeled tax now, the other is tax later, and the last one is tax advantaged. And if I have my money sitting in tax now, I would probably most likely have my money in a checking or a savings, CDs, stocks, or mutual funds. And if you notice in the diagram, every block is shaded in blue, meaning that every step of the way that I'm earning interest, I will be responsible to pay the taxes that I owe on the interest that I've earned. So whenever my money makes money, I have to pay taxes on the money that my money made. So let's say, for example, Josh, I invested $10,000 into a stock, and then my money grew to $20,000. The stock went up. I doubled my money. Well, the investment that I made was $10,000. I don't pay taxes on that. But the $10,000 that I earned on the $10,000 investment, I will be responsible for the taxes that I owe on the gains. So every single year, as I'm accumulating, I'm going to be issued a 1099 to report those gains and pay taxes on it. But what's the second bucket? Tax later. Employer-sponsored programs like 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, annuities, pensions, and of course, TSP, thrift savings plan. And when I make those contributions into those programs, the money that goes in is before tax was accounted for. This is my gross income that goes into my 401k, into my TSP. So the money was yet taxed. It was yet to be taxed. And so as that money goes in, it's not taxed. As the money grows and the money's working for you, it is also not taxed, but it will be taxed when you distribute that money to yourself. So my question is, if we have a 59.5 rule on all of these retirement plans, and I can't access my money until the age of 59.5, And let's say, for example, I started putting money into these programs when I was 30. That means that my money's locked away for 30 years. And if I touch the money before 59 and a half, not only do I pay taxes, but I also pay a 10% IRS penalty. So think about it like this. If I'm 30 and I can't access that money, let's just round it up to 60. Can I predict what taxes are going to be 30 years down the line? I have no idea what taxes are going to be when I'm 60 years old. So I'm putting a hefty amount of my money for retirement into a program that's going to be taxed later at an unknown, unpredictable tax rate. Taxes may go up, so potentially a larger tax rate on a larger lump sum of cash that I am depending on for retirement. That's like you coming to me for a loan and you say, Aaron, I need 50 grand. And I go, absolutely, brother, here's the 50,000. And then you look at me, Brian, and you go, well, brother, how much interest do I owe you on this loan? Because I know that loans are charged interest. And I go, I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you when you come to pay me back in 2 years. Would you ever take that loan? Absolutely not. You want to know upfront what your interest is. So it's like the government telling you, hey, put your money here. You're 30 years old. Put your money here. And then you go, well, I know you're going to charge me taxes. How much? I'm not going to tell you now. I'm going to tell you later when you come to take the money out. Same concept. Same concept. And then you look at tax advantaged. What the rich and wealthy know about positioning large, serious sums of cash into tax advantaged vehicles to be able to access their money tax-free. See, the majority of the population has their money in tax now and tax later, but a very, very small part of the population puts their money in tax advantaged. These are Roth IRAs, 529 college savings programs, executive bonus, long-term care benefit, and of course, cash value life insurance. So when you get paid at work, the first thing that Uncle Sam does is take the taxes out of your paycheck. And then you decide, okay, I want to save $500, $600, $700, $1,000 a month into a tax advantage vehicle. So when my money grows, I don't pay taxes. And then when I access my money, I don't have a tax bill. I keep more of my money. So you imagine, I've stuffed all of this money over the years into my retirement plan just to have a big tax bill later on. And if I touch it prematurely, a 10% penalty. So the question is, where do you put your money? And the follow-up question is, where do you want to put your money? And now that you understand how taxes work and the impact of taxes on your money based on where it's positioned. Let's move on to rule 3. Last thing I'm going to talk about is investment options and understanding the difference between fixed, variable, and index. You know, when you put your money into a bank account, it's fixed. That's why you see that line from left to right. It's steady Eddie. You have the same interest rate. Frank's laughing. That's old school. So if you're earning 1%, guess what? You're going to constantly earn 1%. The good thing about me putting my money in a bank account is that it's safe. It's secure. But I can't grow that money. In fact, I'm safely losing money to inflation because inflation right now is 6, 7, 8%. But what you're earning in that savings account is less than 1%. So inflation is actually outperforming what you're earning in interest on your money. So you're actually losing value to your money and decreasing your purchasing power. So the positive is, if I have my money in the bank, it's safe, but I can't grow it. But what about variable? It's like me putting money in my 401k, my mutual funds, stocks, Bitcoin, real estate. These are all variable. And what does the word variable mean? To change, to fluctuate. So if the market goes up, I make money. But unfortunately, when the market goes down, I lose money. So there is no guarantee that I won't lose money in variable investment options. You will never see a guarantee in a variable investment option in the contract. So a variable investment option can grow, but there is no guarantee you won't lose money. So you're going through the up and down. So most people are sandwiched between fixed and variable, where they're either playing offense with no defense or they're playing defense with no offense. How do we do both? Index strategies, where you have the ability to grow your money just like you would inside of your 401k, but then eliminate the possibility of losing money by having a guaranteed minimum interest rate. I want you to think about the fact, if you walk in your house, the highest point that you can touch is the ceiling, and the lowest that you can touch is the floor. And I can earn up to that ceiling, but I can never go below that floor. So we can guarantee that our clients never, ever suffer a loss on their money over time. See, the majority of the population, yet again, has their money in fixed and variable accounts. And what we do for families is show them how to go from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, to have the best of both worlds, to play offense and defense, because defense also wins championships. So guess what? We don't necessarily want to beat the market. We want to protect you from it while still being able to capture some tremendous gains along the way. So these are the investment options that we educate families on. You got to understand where you are and where you want to reposition that money from that pocket that has a hole in it to the other pocket that doesn't have a hole in it. And finally, to conclude, let's talk about the process. You know, one of the most important things that I see the rich and wealthy do is that they understand the importance of paying themselves first and saving for the long term and saving for their children's education. But more importantly, if you were to ask me what I do on a day-to-day basis, Frank, it's very simple. I help families and I visit them before 3 unwanted visitors visit them first: sickness, disability, and death. I'm going to visit you before any of those things visit you first. And once we financially educate you, once we understand your personal situation and provide you that financial GPS to go from point A to point B, from financial insecurity to financial independence, then we match you up and align you with some of the largest insurance and investment firms that exist in the industry today. So the good thing is that we work with over 70 of the largest A-rated companies in the industry. Companies like Athene, Transamerica, Nationwide, Everest, Prudential, Pacific Life, the list goes on and on. We are not captive to any one particular company. We're independent, so we work with the best of the best in the industry. So as we say, no family left behind, make sure that you set a follow-up for a financial education session. I just gave you some basics, some fundamentals. Get a complimentary financial needs analysis to understand how you could rearrange the furniture in your financial house and find the money that's slipping between the cracks, reposition some of that money, and then we'll do the research as professionals with our years of experience and expertise to be able to get you a solution and a recommendation that best fits you and your family. So with that being said, Frank, take over, brother.
Wow, everybody, give a round of applause to Mr. Aaron Pagan with that information he just gave us. It's amazing. So for us that in the military, you know, we obviously get TSP. When I joined, there was seasonal, and then you can get into it. Now it's kind of like it's everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. You get 1% after completing boot camp. After a year or two, you go into the Navy matching, the military matching up to 5% of your contribution. So I'm going to cover some of TSP investment options, which some of us should be familiar with, especially with our money going in there. So with TSP, you have the GFCSI fund. Each fund varies on how and where it is invested. Each one has a different risk and varies in returns. As most funds, and higher the chance of gain, the higher the chance of loss, as Aaron mentioned, in variable accounts. Then they also have the L fund. This is goes by the year that you're looking at taking and retiring. So it's 2025, 2030, 5-year increment. The L fund consists of different variations of 5 main funds and are target dated funds. Money is vested based on how aggressive or non-aggressive each fund is and tailored to when a veteran is set to retire and access his or her TSP. So one thing about TSP is you have to be managing it. You have to stay on top of it. It's not one of those forget, I'm going to put my money in it and forget it and let it go. You have to really monitor it and stay with the market. Watch the news. Pay attention to the financial news that's out there. You know, talk to people, read books, and stay in tune, because if not, you're going to miss out money. I, like many of us, probably lost a lot of money over the year. So all variable options deal with the ups and downs of the market and volatility. Like I mentioned, you could win big and you could lose big, and we've been losing a lot over the last year. So Aaron covered the 3 rules of money, and the 3 rules of money lead to something that we call the 4 cornerstones of building a strong financial foundation. Of course, we partner with Transamerica, and Transamerica has $206 billion in total assets. They're the #1 term life insurance by Forbes Advisor and the #1 selling IUL in 2021 by insurancenewsnet.com. We're rated A, like Aaron mentioned, and AM Best, Moody's A1, S&P Global A+. So America calls this the financial foundation of index universal life insurance. So when you heard of 3 rules of money, you heard about protection, you heard about return, you heard about tax advantage, and having all these bundled up in one thing. So how does Transamerica provide this for you? And they're just one of the many companies we do partner up with. Well, they have growth. They cap your growth off at 13%. Then they have safety, and they guarantee you a 0.75% return on your money. That means no matter what happens in the market, it goes below 1, you never lose. You're protected from loss, and being protected from loss goes a long way, which I will show you later. It's also tax advantage. So as Aaron mentioned, money stays in a 401k, a TSP, annuity, anything that's a pension like that until 59.5. So you cannot touch it at any time until 59.5. You can borrow against it, you can't pull it out. But one of these policies, you have that access to it, and it's tax-free money. And it gives you protection and living benefits. Yes, it's life insurance. So at the same time, you're protecting your future, your family against loss. If in the case and event something happens to you, your family will be well off. You're leaving them well. We're changing the narrative. We're changing the history by leaving something for our children later on. So you can build your wealth and have lifelong protection with our strategies. It's the perfect complement to carry out through your post-military life, not post, but while you're active duty as well. So this is going back 20 years. We're talking about numbers and we're throwing different things to you. And the best thing for me as a service member or a person, I like to see numbers. Show me the proof that this is something that is worth hearing to and seeing it. So we all mentioned protection. Like Aaron said, the floor. And like I said, the protection of loss or protection from loss is big when you're investing your money and you want your money to go. So we have here a 20-year look back. And if you look, this is investing $10,000 into the market. The first column would be a variable account, TSP, 401k, 403b, stuff like that, variable account. And the last column to the right is $10,000 if it was invested into one of Transamerica's policies. If you invested $10,000 in 2001, the very first year, the market did negative 25.3. So your $10,000 already took a loss, went from $10,000 to $7,497. Well, with Transamerica, we protected you from that loss. We said, hey, you know what? The market crashed. We're going to give you 0.75, like we guaranteed you. So you didn't make a lot of money, but you made money. You didn't lose. So you made $10,075. I'm not going to go each year line by line, but we're going to go down to 2010. The market did 6%. That 10,000 is only 11,832. We gave you 6.10%, and that money's at 22,000. Let's fast forward down to 2021. Now you've had this money in the account for 20 years. Can you go back, please? 20 years. And the original number you started with was 10,000, and you're only at $27,250. Yes, your money doubled. But if you look at the last column, your money's $55,200. 5 times what you started with because you were protected from loss when the market was doing bad. Not only that, going back to compounding interest, the first rule of 72, the rate of return, Transamerica has averaged over 8.92% over the last 20 years. So that means that money was compounding every 9 years. So we're offering you a way to protect you from loss, and it's going to compound at a good rate. Next slide, please. So historical index look back periods, right? So as I mentioned, over the last 20 years, we've done 8.92. Over the last 25 years, we did 8.95. So the power of not losing means you can only win. And the way we're compounding, our numbers are good. 15 years is 8.43. 10 years is 9.48. 5 years is 10. 1 year ago is 15%. So we're doing well in the market, and the power of losing means you can only win. You're never going to lose on it. So these are just a comparison of what TSP does for us and what an index universal life insurance does. The similarities are we have stock market and tax deferred gains, after-tax dollars and contributions. TSP traditional is pre-tax. Stock market risk, we have guaranteed no loss. It's tax-free accessibility, no age requirement for access, and RMD. So what RMD means is if you have a traditional account in your 401k, 403b, TSP, and you did not pay taxes on that money, and now you're 72 years old and you haven't touched that money, but the government wants their taxes, they're going to tax the money by making you take the required minimum distribution as a takeout for them to tax your money. So they're going to get their money anyway. They're going to tax you. So you're going to take a hit on that part. Then there's a build your cash equity for yourself within a permanent life insurance plan that also protects you for long-term care and no management fees. So the long-term care is big for us while we're active duty. It doesn't really matter because we get paid regardless. But once we get out, that money is different, whether you retire or you just separate out the military. That long-term care comes in handy when you need it in case you ever need it, and it's tax-free benefits that's given to you from your own policy at your start. So IO allows veterans to leverage the tax aspect offered and to secure their money and be protected throughout their post-military life. Also while you're active duty, because if you start it now, it'll be there when you get out. Next slide. So this is a comparison. I just did TAP's transitioning program before you separate and retire twice in 2020, and I just did it this year. And this is what they offer. So while we're in active duty, everybody gets the SGLI, which is a group life insurance. It's only a benefit, death benefit, and there's no cash value on it. Yes, it's cheap, it's affordable, but it's only while you're active. When you retire or separate, you transition over to the group that they offer is military veterans group life insurance. And you have 120 days to cross over from SGLI to VGLI once you separate or retire. One bad thing about VGLI is it increases every 5 years, as you can see the demonstration here. It's only a death benefit. There's no cash value life insurance. There's no long-term care, no critical illness. So this is just there. Every 5 years is going to go up. So when you're young, it's cheap. But as you get older, and a lot of us retire between the age of 38 and 48. So now you're looking at $52, $68, $88. You're like, oh, that's not bad. But now 144, 268. And so forth and so forth. By the time you're 75 years old, you're paying over $1,800 a month for it. It's a term life insurance, and that's what they're offering you. Next slide. So I'm going to bring up my next speaker, another business partner of mine that I've met just a few years ago. Good guy, became good friends here. Angel Diaz, he's a senior marketing director and a licensed financial professional with us in World Financial Group. Angel, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Master Chief. I appreciate it. Everyone, I appreciate you guys being on. As he stated earlier, I mean, you could have been doing anything else, but you had chose the time to be able to be here with us to be able to help you on educating more about finances. And I mean, it's a privilege to be able to have you. We appreciate the service that you'll be able to provide for the many years that you have been in service. And it's amazing to be able to demonstrate all this with all my colleagues that I have here with us. A little bit about myself, before I even get into it, is that I come from the background of hospitality, where I've been able to be hospitable and being able to provide the amazing legendary service that I can be in many luxury hotels throughout New York City. And I wanted to be able to do more than just provide service. I wanted to be able to educate people on finances. But at the same time, I was also curious and also scarce in regards to my own retirement, whereas a lot of people spoke about 401ks for us civilians, and a lot of us also, and from military, they spoke about a lot about TSPs. But there was no education behind that, right? They just said, oh, just get a 401k, and then that's pretty much it, right? And I'm not saying none of these are bad solutions, bad financial instruments, right? But I knew that this was not suitable for someone like myself. And unfortunately, within the civilian world and in regards to the civilian world, a lot of your human resources, they provide you with this plan, which is the 401k, and state that this is the best product, and that's pretty much it. And this is not just for me. This is for many people throughout the world, or at least the United States, right? Providing this particular service. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and we'll speak more about that. But because of this corporation that I was able to be affiliated with, I was able to learn more about my finances, and being able to have something that was able to empower me for my retirement for the later stages of my life. So I'm very thrilled for my own mentor, which he actually spoke a little bit earlier, which is Aaron Pagan, being able to be a great friend of mine, but also being able to associate with him and amongst other people to speak more about finances and why financial education is so very important. So without my story, let's move on. So as in business, right, we do believe that you need to have strong goals, a mission, and a vision. Otherwise, what are you going into business for? You just, a lot of people just go into business. They say, oh, this is going to be an amazing business that's going to make a lot of money, and that's pretty much it. But that's not really true. We believe that no family should be left behind, and that's our true mission and our vision. We want to make sure that we're reducing the poverty, especially, I can say just New York, but throughout the world. This is a constant problem that a lot of people are struggling on an everyday basis. And, we would hope, or we wish that the government would be able to help on this, but we need to get into the root of the problem, and that is financial education, right? If we can be able to tap into the root itself, then at least we'll be able to do some damage, or at least do some help to be able to reduce this constant issue that we're having, especially if you are visiting Times Square, where I'm constantly going back and forth. And the amount of homeless people that I've been seeing has dramatically increased since before pandemic and after pandemic, right? So we've been seeing a huge margin of people that are constantly struggling when it comes to finances, which is why we need to understand of how to be able to make money to work, right? And the three different types of income that are out there, right? One is obviously your own active income that you're constantly producing on your own, right? You exchange time for money to be able to bring a check, right? Or a tax check, home. A second one is the passive income, which we'll speak more about that later, right? Which is being able to allow money to be able to work for you, which does not allow you to actually do any hard labor, right? And also capital income, which that you can be able to produce by just allowing your money to be able to work for yourself, right? So there are three different types of incomes, right? I know we're not very educated on that, but this is why we're here for, and why we want to be able to educate a lot of individuals. So we also want to be able to implement a lot of financial strategies, right? As I said, a 401k is not designed for everybody. I don't believe that's the case, but we do financial analysis where we can be able to strategize on what is important for your financial needs, right? So obviously a 401k or a TSP for my Army folks is not just the plan, right? There are many other plans that are out there. And we want to be able to empower a lot of people's financial future, right? To be able to transform so that way people can be able to live financially free, so they don't have to worry about going back to work for their golden ages, right? So we can move on. This is good stuff. But what are some frequent questions that a lot of people ask about? Well, why is this business, or why this organization or this firm is growing so rapidly? And that's because, let's be honest, we don't want to be trapped to an employer, or maybe your boss is not the most best boss out there. I'm sure, we have those bosses that where they kind of like micromanage or breathe behind your neck. Or in other cases, we're tired of living in this modern slavery of this system that, that a lot of people on, right? Or the constant traveling. The psychological, or the issue that we're experiencing is that a lot of people just wake up from work, especially if you live in New York, where we're kind of like on this zombie mode. We wake up to go to work. We probably spend like an hour just to be able to go to work. You hit a little bit of traffic. Then you work for 8 hours. Then you're pretty much done for work. Then you spend another hour just to be able to go home, just to be able to do any chores, take care of the kids. And then that's pretty much it. And then you're constantly doing that for the next 40 years of your life, and you're done, right? But with our organization, you're able to utilize this lovely platform called Zoom to be able to educate a lot of folks, a lot of people, right? It doesn't matter if you're in Texas, you're in California, you're in New York, as I am, or any particular state, you're able to educate people and be able to provide value within their lives, right? A lot of people want to become entrepreneurs, and they have the mindset of like, I need to be able to go to a bank and spend thousands of dollars, right? And that's not really the case with us, right? As you be able to learn how to become entrepreneurs and have the mindset with other individuals like myself and others on this call, you'll be able to know and being able to mentor to be able to become an entrepreneur, right? Being able to develop rising and business owners that are ambitious, right? They'll be able to bring your dream back. If anybody had a dream to be able to open up an organization, and to be able to collaborate with other agencies as well within the financial services, right? Why is there such a huge demand for financial services and education like never before? Because people need to learn more about finances. They need to be educated on these different types of 3 rules of money, as Aaron had explained, right? So the need for financial education is bigger than ever before, right? We can move on to the next slide. And the reason for that is because our families, or at least my generation, they never really spoke about finances. They always kept that on the hush hush, or it was, hey, that's not your concern. You should be knowing about finances, and that's pretty much it. Mom and dad will pretty much pay for the bills and take care of that. But for the most part, it's imperative that the school systems should be able to educate about finances. I mean, I'm sure a majority of us on this lovely platform on Zoom has pretty much wrote notes upon notes of the Pythagorean theorem than, learning about 401ks, investments, life insurance, wills, 3 rules of money, right? So, or people have yet to figure out what is the answer for Z, right? They taught us X plus Y equals Z. And 10 years out of college, I have yet to either utilize any of these concepts within my life, right? And that's unfortunate because we're spending thousands of dollars for education, which I feel like this should be free. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And we're utilizing the wrong education on an everyday life that's not doing anything for us, right? So people need to learn more about 401ks. They need to learn about their retirement and plan for their retirement in their younger stages of their lives, so that way they don't have to worry about it later, right? Being able to build an emergency fund just to be able to, in case something happens where your car breaks down, a death in the family, simple budgets of sorts, right? Being able to create a estate plan, who's going to be able to go get what, right? Being able to ensure that, everybody has some type of will to ensure that the right person is getting the right investments or the right assets, instead of Uncle Tom coming out of nowhere and saying, oh, because he was my best brother or my best friend, I'm going to be the individual that's going to be able to get all his assets, right? So we need to be able to make sure that that person has some type of will, which I feel like that's very, very important. And it doesn't matter if you don't have a lot of assets or if you have a tremendous amount of assets. Everyone should have some type of assets. Will. My apologies. Will, so in order to be able to protect their assets, right? So the market is going up and down, and right now, as we speak, unfortunately, a lot of people do not understand about how the market is performing and why it's important to be able to understand this, right? This is actually affecting your lives, and if we don't educate on this, then it can be very worse, not maybe for you, but the next generation to come. So we'll move on, right? And understand this: every time that an issue happens within the world, right? Let's speak about COVID. When COVID showed its ugly face, a lot of corporations that provided, particular company that provided the jump to be able to say, you know what, let me take advantage of this, right? Which is Pfizer, right? Took a major jump on this to be able to provide vaccinations, which they made a lot of money, right, on that. In this case, the need of what we're trying to provide to people is out there. Unfortunately, right, that percentage is about 91% of people that are constantly suffering when it comes to finances, while only 9% of people that are pretty much the rich and the wealthy are fairly educated, like the Elon Musk and the Donald Trumps, right? They are fairly educated of your basic finances. They understand taxes and investments and why the poor people are poor, while the rich get richer and richer and richer, right? So this is why it's very, very important. And I believe that everyone deserves financial education. And honestly, like it should be demonstrated in schools for our children, so that way they can be able to come out of school financially free without any student loans, right? And being able to tackle the world with the proper tools that we can provide for everyone and also within the school system. So next slide. All right, so without further ado, what I wanted to be able to introduce is someone that's very close to me, right? Who is within the military, in this case, in the Army, that she was a first sergeant that was able to retire as an E8 within her industry, which is the military Army. And she has been doing this organization for about 5 years. She does have a lot of energy, so I hope you guys are ready for this special individual. She's as I said, she's a first sergeant, retired. Allow me to be able to introduce not only the first sergeant, but also my aunt, Luz Stranad. You may take it away.
Good morning. Am I too loud? Should I bring it down a notch? Good morning, everybody. I like to say good morning because somewhere in the world it's morning, right? I definitely also want to continue to thank everyone who's on this call. Like Angel said, I have tons of energy. I've been doing this for quite some time when it comes to the military, and I'm very passionate on what I do and what I say. I also want to commend I would say my battle buddy, Rodriguez, is actually on this call. He was my right hand, Sergeant First Class. He better be a Master Sergeant by now. He better be listening because I know he's driving from a long vacation right now. And I know that it's back to school season here. And I also want to say thank you to Wilfredo Velez. And I'm going to mention that again. I took little notes. If anyone knows on this call is my Sergeant First Class, hopefully Master Sergeant right now, that he knows that as a First Sergeant, I never follow rules. So I know that I have slides coming up. If you guys want to put that slide up for me, because I never do what you tell me to do, I'm going to do what I want to do. And you guys should know this. Angel, as my nephew, I'm going to do what I want to do. So Rodriguez, put a 1 on there. I don't know if you're driving or your wife is driving, knowing you're driving. Put a 1 on there if you're listening to me, right? But I also want to say that on that chat, if you can please put an A if you're continuously active duty or an R for retirement. I don't care if one person answers. I don't care if you all answer. It doesn't really matter. I just want to get a sense. There you go. There goes my Rodriguez. He's following orders as always. That's why he's good at what he does, right? That's my medic. That's my NCOIC. And when I was taking a day off, he filled in the shoes as the first sergeant. So I truly honor him. Look, we have active duty still on the line. Look, Joshua, active duty. Here we go. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna wake you up. I used to be a drill sergeant. Why wouldn't I wake you up, right? This is what I do. So be ready for me. So Chantel, I think you're running the slides for me. If you want to go ahead. So this is a question that's asked, right? Has there ever been a time where you thought about starting a business? Well, didn't the pandemic do that for us? For a whole bunch of us? Absolutely, that's what it did, right? So with that being said, there are concerns, I would say. I think somebody's trying to get on right here. We still have people logging in, people. We've been in here for quite some time and people are still trying to log in. But there are various concerns when it comes to this. So during the pandemic here, and Rodriguez, you know me again, I'm not going to read anything. You read it if you want to. I'm going to tell you what I have faced, and also if you have opened a business yourself or you know someone that has opened a business, then you know what the business concerns are. So these little circles represent exactly what's going on. So I took little notes so that I can tell you what I think it is, right? Investment, large investments. For example, let's say most people, every time they want to open a business, most people talk about, I want to open a restaurant. Well, we all know that a restaurant is not open with 10 grand or 20 grand or 30 grand. It depends on the type of restaurant. You have to do your due diligence, find out where you want to put it, blah, 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 blah. Depends the state. Blah, blah. If you're in Puerto Rico, look, buy one of those little trucks, put a window on it, put a gas tank. Let's go. Let's do some pastelillos or some crap like that. Let me watch my mouth because then Chantel is going to call me out. I'm sorry, if you're military, you understand we have potty mouths, but I'm gonna keep it real because that's how I am, right, Francisco? We got to keep it clean. We got to keep it clean, right? But we all know that it takes large investments. Well, fortunately, someone will probably touch that on that. And when I say someone, it's whoever invited you into this call. That's who you want to get to when it talks about our investments, right? But investment is big, concerns. Now, time. Everybody wants to know that they open their food truck or their restaurant, they put 100 grand into it, and how fast are they gonna make a profit? Normally, right, it takes about 5 years before you see a profit. Well, get with the person who invited you, and you'll learn a little bit more about how we do things around here. But I'm gonna keep you wondering, because wondering, right, it creates this curiosity, and you'll get back with the person who invited you. The need and the knowledge is two things that work together. People get into business because their aunt or their best friend or someone they heard got into the business, right? Not knowing, being uneducated, right? And the knowledge also goes with this. So getting into the need of the business concern, and the knowledge is very important when you're opening something. So you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you're opening. You need to know the numbers. You need to know the waste, the concerns, the everything, right? And what does it narrow down to this risk? Bottom line. And what happens is people get into mom and pop shop, whatever it is, and then they don't make their profit within the first 6 months, 100 grand done. Guess what? That 100 grand doesn't come just easily. Most people took a loan on that, and now you have an investment lost. And that's what creates risk. You could take an opportunity, you can take a chance, be educated. Come on, let's do this right. You need to be educated, because unfortunately, just like it says there, I'm going to read that last little risk. Unfortunately, people also walk into business feeling confused, misguided, unprepared, and highly uninformed. What does that create? It creates debt. Simple. It creates debt. So next slide, please. Look, I'm not going to get into this again. I'm going to tell you what I faced. Okay. Luckily for myself, I know Francisco is laughing because I'm not going to follow the rules. And I'm sure Rodriguez is laughing too somewhere. I can't see your face. You can see me because I am first sergeant. I'm going to do what I want. And first sergeant retired at that. But let me tell you a little bit something, right? Luckily for me, and Rodriguez knows that we worked together a little bit, almost 2 years. Where did we work? In Puerto Rico, my dear people. We ran San Juan Mets. Yep, you were hating. But unfortunately, Rodriguez, let's keep it real. Then the pandemic happened and then we got locked in. So I'm gonna keep it real, Rodriguez. You know we got locked in, right? But anyway, but at the end, what can I tell you? I was lucky enough. I talked to Rodriguez a lot behind the scenes. He actually knows I'm really passionate when it comes to my soldiers, talking about finances and talking about things that we gotta talk about. At the end of the day, if you're military, you know the mission's gonna go on. But some things are more important than just the mission when it comes to family concerns. Finances is one of those. Most marriages break up because of finance problems. In the military, most people break up because they married someone, him or her, one of them is serving, and they bought everything that they could not afford, not knowing they would retire. Finances change. I'm also going to come back here and talk about Wilfredo Velez, which he's also on the call. I want you to recall, Wilfredo, when we went back to the retirement, SFL, whatever you call that. I'm trying to forget all military language and acronyms here because I hate them. But anyway, when we attended that retirement class, and they were talking about life insurance and all this stuff. I'm sorry to say, yep, thank you, TAP. See, he's listening, TAP. Thank you, right? SFL TAP. When we, and Wilfredo, testament, because you're a guest on here, and I want you to tell me, she's telling the truth or she's lying. Call me out. Call me out. But I want to bring this up. At this point, we were on this class, and they started talking about life insurance. I think Francisco hit up on life insurance. And when they started offering these stuff, I was at the front seat, if I can remember. My husband attended with me because he retired a year earlier than I. He was sitting with me. And I just jumped out of my seat because I could not believe what they were offering military soldiers, Army, Navy, and all this is a piece of crap. How are you going to offer a piece? I'm sorry, I'm going to keep it real. If you want to say something, just call me out. Go ahead. I remember, yep, I remember too. And they started talking about all these things that after we serve 20 plus years or we're medically retired or whatever it is, they want to offer us this thing. Being military, I don't know where, and if please put how many years you got in. If you have 15 in, 20 in, retired, whatever it is, put them in. Because I'm gonna tell you, make sure that you tell them and you go to their medical and you put everything in there. But before you do all that, you may want to get with the person who invited you here. Because after you log in all this stuff, it goes a certain way. So I'm going to keep it slight. I'm going to keep you wondering only because First Sergeant wants you to make sure you get with the person who's on here because you have a lot to learn. And for me personally, because this is about me, I actually started this business, as Angel said, 5 years. It's actually going on 6 years now, which I've had a ride. I did many wrongdoings with my finances. I thought I was good until my nephew, Angel, who is, I'm only 21, but anyway, a few years younger than me. You know, ladies, we don't really reveal that stuff. But instead of me educating Angel, Angel is educating me on finances. He tried getting with me 3 years prior. I didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to him because with the military, I kept going and coming and going, coming. And one day he was going, I was flying into New York. He was going into California to a convention. And we were again passing past whatever. And then from there, I was going to Puerto Rico. And he's like, Titi, right? Titi, make sure that we get on a Zoom. We're going to do this call. And he started educating me on all this stuff that I thought my finances are down packed. And I was wrong. So I'm going to give you a key nugget. If you have children, one little key nugget. This is the way me and my husband did it. You know how when we have children, when we claim our taxes, what we do is we take money, the way we did it. Sometimes we get taxes back because we have children, not because they actually belong to us. So what I did and my husband did is every time we got a return, every time we had a child, we would take that money. So the first taxes we got for the first 5 years, we gave it to Hannah. Then taxes, we had Savannah, in the 6th year. Then we split it in half. Our taxes, we gave it to Hannah and Savannah split in 2. Then we're up to 3 kids. We split it in 3. We kept doing that throughout the years. But guess where we put it? If you know, I screwed up, where did I put it? I want someone to tell me where I put my money. In the wrong place. Aaron called it out earlier. Where did I put my money, people? Where's the wrong place? Where don't you? Exactly. Don't do that. Don't do that. So I know I was a little bit all over the place. I know you truly got my message. I'm not about slides. I'm not going to kill you by PowerPoint. But at the end of the day, get with the individual who got you on here. And we do so many things. We're not a one-trick pony. There's a lot of things that we can offer. We are true to what we do. I thank God that Angel is my nephew first, and he's actually my saving angel to my kids' finances. And it's very important that Aaron talked about this. What are you going to do with the information you received today? What are you going to do with that? You're going to just tuck it in? Are you going to continue doing what you've been doing? Has that been working? And if great, then great. Or are you going to do what the 9% that Angel talked about, that is rich, that is wealthy, that keep doing the right thing, that are people like you tonight, that instead of doing anything else, you're on this call with us, allowing, because we said an hour, we're almost an hour and a half in. So I want to appreciate everyone who has stood in. Educate yourself. Go get it. I know y'all want me to chime off, but you know what? I used to wear the drill sergeant hat. So I also push people to TSP. Personally, for me, that's not the way to go. Do better. And thank you for the opportunity for being your guest speaker. And I'll give it back to you, Francisco. So I know you want it back, but you know what? I'm first sergeant, so here I am. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Luz. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we're getting ready to wrap it up. I know we went over our time, but here we go. So as we're talking about business owners and entrepreneurs, we want to discuss the cash flow quadrant, right? And it pertains to us in the military or people that served or people that are currently employed and still working, is that we have 4 quadrants, right? The first one is employee. You have a job. You're exchanging your time for money. So if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. Then you have self-employed, where you own the job and you're still exchanging your time for money. Whether you own a store, whether you own a business, you still, if you don't have anybody under you, you're exchanging your time for money, right? So you own a job, you have active income. So constantly exchanging time for money means you'll never have time, right? So then the other 2 quadrants on the left side is the business owner. What does that mean? You own a system. You own a system. So for my SMDs on the call, they own a system. They have other people under them. They're exchanging not only their time for money, but their other people's time for money. So they're making money while they sleep. The money's making money for them, right? Then you have investors, where they own the investment. They own assets. I look at it like Shark Tank. You know, people with money, they don't want to have nothing to do with the company. They just want to help you get started and take a profit in return, a percentage. So they're exchanging money for money. That's passive income. You have leverage. A system saves yourself some time, energy, and money. What I tell people is, for us that did, whether you did 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whether you retired or separated from the military or still working like myself and other people who's on the call, we give so much time to the military and we're building somebody else's career, that if we took the same energy and time and put it into our dreams and goals, into a business that is needed, it's something that's needed. We're not talking about selling something that anybody else sells. We're talking about something that's needed by a bunch of people in the United States, in America, and North America. Then take advantage of it. We'd be millionaires as well too, because the energy that we put in, the dedication, the fact that we're coachable, we're trainable, we're team players. A lot of us are leaders, trainers. Is a lot of tools that we are given by the military that if we don't apply when we get out, we're going to be where we're at, and we can apply it and definitely win. Next slide. So let's think about this. Do you know someone that got out the military service, not financially prepared for civilian life? I'm pretty sure we know a lot of them. Do you feel 100% comfortable depending only on government provided services? Active duty members and veterans protect their cars, phones, and their homes. We put insurance on our phones, our cars, our homes. Why not protect the most important asset, yourself? All while leaving a legacy behind and protecting your wealth. Next slide. So life is all about choices. And these are 3 choices for you. Choice 1 is, if you're willing to make a small investment and start a business, gain knowledge, and become successful, apply with WFG and schedule a business plan. Get with the person that invited you to the call. Choice number 2, we help you save money and accumulate wealth, schedule education on savings, get back with the person that invited you to the call. And choice 3, if you want both, apply with WFG and schedule a business plan. Again, get back with the person that invited you to the call. I want to take the time out to thank all of you for joining us tonight. I know we went over a little time and it's a Sunday night, but I appreciate you staying on and listening to the information. I hope that you got out of the information what I received out of it in 2020 by when it was presented to me by one of my junior sailors that paid it forward. I want to say thanks to Melody, Chantel, Aaron, Angel, and First Arm for being on the call, giving you the training and presenting. Everybody getting a round of applause. And like I said, if you guys do want more information or just want more clarity, get back with the person that invited you to the call and, set up a call, set up a separate training call, more in depth, and get more personal information. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be blessed. Have a good night.
I feel a
There should
little
be a poll.
disconnected.